Hey, welcome to Eternal Warriors Expedition 04. This is Tanzania Safari and Mount Kilimanjaro Expedition. We have with us Chris Cavallini, Will Branham, and Lou Zimick, who joined us this trip, along with, of course, myself and the illustrious Carly Marguerite. So today we just kind of want to do an after-action review of our trip and go around the room, very informal, very open conversation about our experience, about the whole visit here to Eastern Africa. So one of the fun ways to open up a conversation is I do this with my kids. We do a dinner table or after experience is we talk about what was our best part of the trip, and then we follow that up with what was the worst part, and then we ask what was the best part of the worst part. So Chris, you want to lead us off? What was the best part?
The best part, I mean, there's so many things that happened during this trip, between the safari, staying in this beautiful place. The food was honestly very important. I throw this in there because I was not expecting the food to be as good as it was. The food that I eat here is, I would eat it back home. So that was a big deal for me because my diet and adequate nutrition is important. The best part, I would say, about the excursion, the Kilimanjaro excursion specifically, was overcoming the adversity that I experienced. I had no climbing experience previous to this. On day 4, I came down with altitude sickness, and it completely just disrupted my entire being. My body started to fail me. Shortly after that, my brain started to fail me. The climb was perhaps more a mental war than it was a physical challenge. The best part, though, was overcoming that, because as you push through adversity, once you get past that, I think that there's a significant upgrade to your character. And the worst part is probably the same thing, getting sick as hell. Getting sick as hell, being an inconvenience to my friends, slowing down the group. But luckily, these guys and girls were amazing. They stuck by my side. There were times where literally Will and Chris were walking ahead of me, and I would hold their bag, and they would just set the pace because I had absolutely no energy. All my energy had left my body, and when that happened, we still had another 7 hours up the summit and another 4 hours down. So, that sucked. But looking back on it, I honestly don't think I would change a thing.
It's awesome. Yeah, love that for sure. And I would say that while you absolutely experienced altitude sickness, there was never any. Did you ever feel that there was any major concern for your health and well-being with it?
Not at all.
No, we had amazing guides on this trip that were very in tune to your health and well-being, your actual what you were experiencing. Myself, we kept checking in on you, and you did a great job of communicating and letting us know what you were feeling and what you were going through. And that's very important to point out to people. When we're doing stuff like this, is you've got to communicate. Don't hide it. Don't shut down. So thank you for that.
Of course.
And don't be embarrassed either. I mean, altitude sickness hits everybody in completely different ways. You can climb the same mountain 20 times, and then the 21st time, it'll hit you like a freaking, wrecking ball. And the guides that we had, they were amazing. Twice a day, they're getting our vitals, asking us questions to make sure we're, on the up and up. So no, at no point in time was I concerned with my well-being, despite the fact I was in rough shape. I was surrounded by good people, and that gave me the energy to push through.
It was a pleasure to be able to see you push through those obstacles as they presented themselves to you too. So
I was thoroughly impressed because, as Chris has never done anything like this, so he went from 0 to 1,000 real fast. Just no lube, just went straight in.
And admittedly, I'll admit, I definitely underestimated how difficult it would be. I thought to myself, it's climbing a mountain. How hard can that actually be? I trained very hard. I'm in good physical condition, but there's just so many things that you cannot account for until you actually do it.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that I did.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, again, thoroughly impressed. I know I felt it for sure. I felt the altitude sickness, and this isn't my first rodeo, not that I'm an expert, but man, you pushed hard. And of course, you were there cheering him on too, which was
Cheering me on, holding me up.
holding him up. That was awesome. So good job, team.
Cool. All right, well, you're up.
What's the question?
So best part, worst part, and then the best part of that worst part.
That's a good question. Best part, I think it was just making the summit. I didn't really struggle too much. Like the pace was good. It was slow. I think the thing I struggled the most with was that at base camp having a headache.
Yeah.
Like bad headache. Like how many drugs can I put in my body, anti-inflammatory something, to make this hurt less? But yeah, I think honestly, I think one of the best parts was watching you suffer. But you watching your fucking heart, like I got emotional at one point where you were like just fucking struggling, and I'm like, there's the darkness I was talking about earlier. Fuck yeah. And I was like really excited about that. Like I had to like compose myself because I got kind of emotional about it. Worst part. I don't know if there is a worst part.
Maybe having to shit in a hole.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think I was constipated for the first 3 days, and then we're on our way to base camp, and I'm like, hold on, I got to go over there. Yeah. And the guys are like, you want us to take your pack? No, get away from me. I'm going to carry my own damn weight. And it was probably better than sex, like the best shit I've ever taken.
But having to be like exhausted, shitting in a hole, having to like hold yourself in that air squat position.
That's the grass squat.
Your legs start shaking.
I refuse to use that. I would just go behind a rock.
And then it was really cold, using the bidet, spraying cold water on yourself when it's already freezing outside. It just added to the discomfort, which, that's a good thing. You want more of that stuff, not less.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's kind of the reason why we do what we do. It's for the darkness, the discomfort. People don't put themselves in uncomfortable situations enough, and splashing your butt with freezing cold water on top of a mountain, that's definitely discomfort. So
and it highlights too the idea that it's not just the mountain, it's everything that leads up to that. You talk about being constipated for 3 days. Well, there's factors that go to that. People just don't think about it. Like, well, why would I be constipated? Well, there's a change in diet. Even though the food is great, it's different. We had soup at every meal.
I have shifted from constipation to different.
Right. And then that's the other part of it too. So, and
we go from one extreme to the other here.
Exactly. So, and then of course, drinking a crazy amount of water, but never being able to keep up with it. The adjustment to the weather, because for people that don't know, Kilimanjaro is one of those unique places in the world where you literally start out in a rainforest and you move your way up through what's called moorland, and then you go to alpine desert, and then you hit an alpine zone. So you are going from 80-degree weather all the way to 20 degrees or below, and all within 6 days. So your body is going through levels of shock and or acclimation in a very steep process, along with the altitude and adjusting to sleeping in a sleeping bag and trying to be comfortable. Like, it's just outside of our creature comforts, but it gives you a very strong respect for the people that live this lifestyle, that live in this part of the world. And as we learned from the guides and the 18 porters and our cook, they were with us for 6 days, took care of us hand and foot, were above and beyond expectation, and they're turning around and doing it again in 2 days.
Yeah, it's nuts.
They do it 3 times a month. Three times a month. So that's a lot.
That's their livelihood.
Yeah.
And they're immensely proud of it and awesome at it. So
could not have trusted them anymore to get us up and down safely.
Yeah.
And the amount of crap that they carry up and down that mountain.
Yeah.
Man, and we will share some of those videos
Talk
with them.
about humbling, right?
It's insane.
Walking up tired and
our guides were carrying
it,
all of their
them
stuff.
Just trudge by you with 40 pounds on their head.
Yeah.
5-gallon buckets.
All the water for
head.
6 days for all of us.
Not even breakfast.
They carried all the food, all the miscellaneous duffel bags we had. Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Propane tanks,
Fruit.
stoves, burners.
Everything, all the heavy stuff.
With a great attitude, mind you, the entire time.
Pots and pans, food, all of it.
Always with a smile on their face. And the encouragement that they gave us all the way up to the summit. Like, we were out of breath. We'd have to take 2 steps at a time and then take the deepest inhale. And we still couldn't catch our breath. And these guys were singing the entire way up the mountain and just yelling, good job, guys, good job, guys. I'm like, where are they getting the energy
that
for
was
this?
helpful.
I'm dying.
It was helpful at that point.
So helpful.
Yeah, such a pick-me-up.
Yeah,
for sure.
like every single time I'd have a smile on my face. I went from like, man, I don't know if I can take another step to just, yeah, it was awesome.
Best part, I came for the climb and the safari and, see the Eternal Warriors again. But I would say my best part, surprisingly, was just being around high-level people and having conversations that I don't have in my day-to-day life. Just give me an opportunity to pause, reflect, the pressure's lifted, and really focus on where I need to be and where I'm going. And it's an opportunity that doesn't present itself. So that was the best part. The worst part is coming here thinking I'm in shape and being humbled by these porters that are just friggin' flying by me on the mountain.
In
And,
Crocs, nonetheless.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, in Crocs, yeah. Not bothered by anything, whether it's the heat, the cold, the weight,
Yeah, you
packs on their heads.
you took a particular fondness or liking towards one of our individuals who helped us. He woke us up every day. He brought us the coffee every day. Poured
Stud.
it. Absolute awesome kid.
Just a
And I say
sweet
kid.
He's a
because-
sweet kid.
Yeah, he's young but
Tough.
He walked in tired and worn out, doing the exact same amount of work, if not more than us.
Yeah.
Actually joined us all the way to the summit.
Yep.
Came down, dropped everything as we were down. As soon as we got back, and immediately set the table for us to eat. Got us hot liquids, took care of us, and waited on us hand and foot. And it was just extremely humbling. But like, you took a strong fondness to him.
Yeah, for sure. Just the level of like servitude and the smile on their face throughout the whole thing, it's incredible. Like, so when I say worst, it is humbling, but at the same time, it's very easy to say that, like, just their attitude and the ability to keep going and the fortitude that they demonstrate is also the best part of the worst part. It's very easy.
I mean, it's easy for us to say here. We've all gone through some pretty gnarly shit in our life, some hard times and deep times, and dipped into the darkness. But seeing a young kid like that have a smile on his face, we all, I think, learned something from them this week of just at another level of servitude, like you said, or being humble, or just like, for us, this was a expedition. For them, it's their lifestyle. And
It's a Tuesday.
yeah,
Tuesday.
right? It's like,
Literally.
man.
Yeah.
And it says something too to have somebody greet you that way every morning, even when you're sleeping in a sleeping bag, freezing your ass off, feel like shit, come in with a smile, say, hey, can I pour you a cup of coffee?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you
I'll drink
can.
coffee
What
from
is
my
today?
I'll
sleeping
take
bag.
three.
Today is the 20th.
They're going back up today.
Yeah.
They leave today for
Insane.
another expedition.
Yeah.
And here we are still licking our wounds.
Yeah.
We don't have wounds.
No.
We're ready to go.
With growth.
Honestly, I thought your favorite part was going to be the pedicure that you got after you got back, but
No, I'd say it was the calf massage.
Oh my
The
god.
calf massage might have been the best and worst part.
yeah.
Nice.
I'm gonna
I take it
remember
back.
this.
Take everything back. That's the best and worst
Yeah.
part.
Yep. I'm
Or
gonna
was it
start
the
off
couples massage?
with the couples massage there. That's right.
Lou and I did a couples massage.
That was so cute. They held hands and everything. They stroked each other's hair.
You don't have video footage.
I would have. I mean, it would have happened, but we were too far away.
You're like, Lou. I'm gonna start off with. Okay, so the worst part for me was probably how freaking.
Ghost.
I know. Thank you, sir. I think it's how freezing cold I was the entire freaking way up to the summit. I thought that my thermal layer was going to be thick enough. It was not. And I know Will at the top, when we got to the summit, he's like, Carly, do you just need to come in my jacket? Because
Yeah.
you don't look like you're okay. I was jackhammering the entire way up. And I think that took away so much of my energy that, man, it hit me so hard when we got to the top. I'm like, I have 30 seconds before I'm going to like start rolling off this hill because I don't think I'm going to make it down. But I mean, that was a lesson learned for sure. Everything else, like the OR jackets that we had, gloves, everything else, that's what saved me, honestly. The best part was every single step that we took, because I was like, man, the only way that I'm going to get off this mountain is if I pass out, if I'm dying, or, I mean, that's it. One of those two things. I'm like, there's no way that I'm not making it to the top. And I know Chris was telling himself the same thing. It's like, I'm either going to die on this mountain or, like, we're freaking summiting. So every time, like, we were falling asleep as we were climbing. We started climbing, 11:40 p.m. at night? Yep. We didn't make it to the top until 6:40 a.m. So you're walking in absolute darkness for a long time and
freezing cold.
It is exhausting. You can't breathe at that altitude. And I kept watching Lou as well. After a few hours, he kept stumbling and like tripping on rocks. I'm like, is anybody else seeing this, or am I losing my mind? I'm like, I wonder why. And then I started doing the same thing, and I noticed my mom doing the same thing too. And it's because we were all falling asleep as we were trekking up the mountain because we were just so tired.
The pace, the time, everything about it was just...
It was a lot.
It was a lot. And yeah, for sure, I would notice myself more than once, like, actually fall asleep while I was walking.
I was like, I get it now.
I didn't have that at all. I was busy.
You were busy.
I was very alert.
Yeah. But yeah, every single step that I took after I thought that I couldn't take another step was my favorite part. Yeah.
So I had a rookie mistake. Like, you come prepared, you have all the right gear. Little pointer for people who do something like this, maybe that are also rookies. Go through your gear, make sure you know how it all works.
Yeah.
Like, I had a pair of sunglasses that double as, like, windscreen, and in the carrying case is a clear lens, which would have been perfect for the nighttime walking to help with the wind deflection and everything else and not obstruct any vision. And I wasn't about to mess with it on the mountain because I didn't do my due diligence prior to. So I'm sitting here, I have the gear, don't know how it works, so useless, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Be prepared.
Definitely a valid point.
Yeah.
So for me, best part, of course, was everybody successfully making it to the top and doing it safely. That's in a milestone in itself, but then more importantly was everybody making it down successfully.
Yeah.
Because the top is just half the climb and half the journey. Coming down tends to be the most dangerous part, regardless of an expedition like this, just because at that point in time your body's so fatigued, you're so worn out, and you're drained. Your body just wants to be done, and you have this letdown after you hit the top. And you're at every step too coming down, it's different. You're locking your joints out, you're hitting your knees differently, and you're just ready to be done, but you have to keep going.
And that last leg is the steepest part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So
It's muddy too.
Extremely happy with everybody's being in tune with their body, communicating, and successfully getting back down in that trip. Worst part for me, I think, and it's not really a bad part. It's just something that I knew coming into there would be a language barrier. It would be a little bit difficult to have conversations, especially with the guides that I wanted at the level that I wanted to. And it started out as the worst part, trying to communicate to them, what my ideas of our expedition were going to be and how to do. But then over the course of the trip, we very quickly connected and were able to communicate, and it proved itself on the last day, where when they were trying to get us we asked to take off early for the summit so we could time that sunrise, right, and be able to see it from the top, and more importantly, beat the crowd.
Which we did.
Which we did, right? What I don't know if you guys know is I talked to Chris after, because Chris is one of our guides, so there's 3 Chris's on this trip. Chris, the lead guide that was leading us up, he told me after we hit the top, I was like, man, I was concerned we were going to get there before the sunrise, because we were on pace to actually hit the main peak well before sunrise. He goes, He goes, I saw where you two were moving, and he saw where these guys were moving, us, the rest of us, and he goes, I purposely slowed it down, and I was watching my watch every step. He goes, I made sure we hit the main summit right after sunrise.
Yep.
So the communication that we had, maybe a little bit of difficulty kind of clearly delineating what we needed or wanted for the trip and the experience, clearly came to this conclusion that worked out unbelievably perfect. And then it even further, we had, and this isn't typical, I mean, every trip you go on around the world, whatever you're doing, you might expect to run into hiccups, run into walls, run into things that might happen. We came down off the peak, and then when we came down to our camp for the night, conveniently enough, we had no lodging. Our guides were less than happy, of course, because we've paid for it, we reserved it, they've done their due diligence. And when it comes down to not diving too down the rabbit trail, there can be a lot of unknowns, yes, that the national park wasn't ready for, where people stayed longer than they were supposed to. A bigger group came up that wasn't supposed to. Needless to say, lodging was taken. So we thought. Through conversations with our guides and the national park staff, I was able to figure out that there were actually 3 rooms open, but they weren't willing to release them. But our guides realized how adamant I was about it, and I kind of coached them through how the process of politically negotiating this, and they successfully reached out to their company, which reached out to the regional director, then the actual national park staff for Tanzania, and very quickly, within about an hour, rectified the situation, and we actually had 2 rooms that they were holding for whatever reason, and then able to get it fixed. They came to me after that, all said and done, 2 of the guys, and said, regrettably, there's a lot of corruption in the country. They have a hard time navigating, but we learned something from you today on how to use our resources and the people that are in our favor to be able to leverage and get things done. Yeah. So that was a really cool experience. So that was the best part of the worst part.
This was another interesting thing about that, is they were coming to us, like they have everything, and they do this mountain all the time. Mm-hmm. They came to us and they're like, hey, you have a ground pad, can I borrow that for the night? Because I don't know where I'm sleeping.
Right.
Oh, here, you can have everything of mine, I don't care. Take it and keep it.
Yeah, they were true warriors, and they even said that, we told them, like, hey, we don't want you sleeping on the floor, we don't want you sleeping in the condition, because they were also fighting for their own quarters that evening, and they said, don't worry about us, we're warriors, we're soldiers just like you, and it was very humbling and amazing to
right, they're there to take care of us, and it was interesting when they're like, can you help take care of me for a moment?
It made us feel like such divas. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys are literally sleeping on the floor on a mattress, and we're getting VIP rooms and
air quotes
VIP rooms, and we're like, when they finally came back to us to give us the room for the key for the second room, we're like, no, you guys take it, because by that time we learned that they were sleeping on like the kitchen floor or something like that. Of course, they weren't going to allow that, but I mean, they just took care of us so freaking well. I did feel like a little bit of a diva, though. Like, I really do. We don't need the VIP room, but thank you.
They fought hard for us, and again, to their favor, once we got down off the mountain, we made it back to the parking lot to ride home. The main national park representative there pulled all of us in along with one of our guides and wanted to sincerely apologize, and not only apologize, but identified the actual issue that happened and gave us corrective action that they were implementing moving forward to make sure it didn't happen again.
Very cool and interesting,
Yeah, that was very, very
like that alone
surprising.
Right there is like there's a lesson in there that, conflict or whatever, relationships, workplace, whatever, like that's how you solve the problem.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
and they did a very good job.
They did.
Tremendous follow through.
And again, for the health of the tourism out here, like they need to do that, right? They don't want us to leave with a bad taste in our mouth. And it wasn't even so much for us, but for people after us. Especially coming down the mountain, you need a place to sleep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, and of course, if you haven't seen it yet in any posts we put out, we use a guide service called Monkey Adventures. Our guides were Nick, Chris, and Enoch.
Studs.
Local
Awesome.
studs. They're great guys.
Warriors.
We may be down to just one in the future. We'll see.
Thanks, Cavalier.
Cavalier's got some plans for him, which is amazing in itself. A different story, different time. But if you're ever looking to come out here and do this, we encourage you to come with us, of course. But if you're doing it on your own, check out Monkey Adventures. They're phenomenal. We've stayed here at the Pink Flamingo Boutique Hotel, which is owned by Carly's mom and dad. But it is an amazing place to stay and relax, especially when you go through something as stressful and high, I guess,
Energy output.
high energy output, to be able to just decompress. And like you said, great food, great resources.
Hospitality is unbelievable.
Yeah. So if you have questions about anything we've done with this trip, or you show interest to it, you may want to come out and do this, whether it's safari, climb Kilimanjaro, or just do some rest and relaxation, you can reach out to us with the Eternal Warriors. By all means, please comment it below. And then we challenge you to chase down your dreams. If it's a bucket list that you have, if it's something that you need to do to test yourself, get out of a rut, touch the darkness, just to live again, this is a great opportunity to do that. And I would say it's probably one of the safest ways to do it that I've experienced in my 20 plus years of adventuring, exploring through the military and outside. Yeah.
We spent the bulk of the time talking about Kilimanjaro, but the safari excursion was absolutely phenomenal. For me, that was something I wanted to do since I was 12 years old, and to be able to actually do it and have it actually manifest was just incredible. I mean, seeing lions, zebras, elephants out in the wild, and how close we were.
Yeah.
It was surreal.
You could smell them.
Absolutely was. Yeah. There's a couple of times the elephants came close enough to the vehicles.
So close.
Yeah, it's a little too close for comfort. If you guys were, like, an experience like this, translate it into everyday life, how would you translate it to everyday life? Like, what's something that you learned on the mountain or on safari or, on this expedition?
I feel like I need to get my phone because I took a bunch of notes.
So I'm just gonna say, like, the hesitation factor. This is something that when the opportunity presented itself, I saw it as just that, an opportunity. I was like, hey, I want to go do this. So Chris and Carl, you guys called and said, hey, we're going to Africa. Do you want to join? Yeah, I want to come. So, like, in life, when opportunities present themselves, don't hesitate. Recognize the opportunity, take the reins and go after it, right? So don't hesitate. Go after your dreams, go after your goals, and make moves.
Love it. Make moves.
I would say that the most relatable life lesson for this trip for me was the fact that when you think you have absolutely nothing left in the tank, there's actually a lot left, and it's up to you to push past that point. When you get to a point where you feel like you would rather die than take another step forward, what you do in those situations, I believe, determines not only where you go, but who you become.
100%. I could not agree more with
Yeah,
that.
say that again.
Yeah. I think that was probably the biggest one for me as well. I'm going to piggyback off of what you said, because, like, what sets us apart from most people is not quitting. And I know quitting is not a part of Chris's vocabulary over here, but that already sets you apart. Just keep going.
Yeah.
And then the confidence,
Get naked.
the confidence that comes with it when you push yourself past your perceived limitations. On the other end of it is a more confident, resilient version of you.
You have a new
Your higher
baseline.
self.
Yeah, exactly.
New baseline.
Well
is a good way
said.
to put it. Yeah. New baseline. You just elevate. in
Upgraded
life.
your character.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, man, you explore parts of yourself that you didn't even know existed.
You're expanding your capacity.
Correct. Yeah.
What do you got, Will?
Sir William,
I don't know the question, but I'm looking at mine.
how do
The
you
lessons, life lessons, relatable.
whether it's in your personal life, in entrepreneurship, whatever it is?
There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
So let's just say one. So let's say the peak, making it to the peak of the mountain is like everyone's goal. They want to like hit that, but that's only the halfway point.
Yeah.
So there's a couple pieces of that. So yeah, you can look at the peak, but if you just keep looking at the peak, you don't feel like you're ever going to get closer.
Yeah.
So you know where you're going. That's the goal. That's where I want to go. Now you just take one step at a time to get there.
Yep.
It doesn't matter how long it takes you. Just keep going. One more step, one more step, one more step, one more step. You know, look at that little circle of light. You know, we're going up the mountain. All I see is the little fucking circle of light. It's about 1.5 feet long. I'm just making it to the end of that circle.
Yep.
Every step. And then pretty soon you're like, oh, I'm
shit.
so close.
Those steps add up.
Look back down.
Yep.
Stop looking at that, because that makes, like, it just seems like you're never going to get there.
Unachievable.
It's like a 6-day adventure.
There's another bluff in front of you.
Right.
There's another-
I'm just going to look at the thing that's in front of me. What's the next obstacle I have to face? Okay,
Right.
get that. Okay, now, we made it to the peak. Well, we got to come back down now.
Yeah.
If you use all of your energy to get there, you got nothing left to come back down. So you got to measure that out, and you have to plan the trip back down, because that's oftentimes where people get hurt or we become complacent.
Right.
And you have to get ready to climb that next mountain. Once you climb to the top, okay, you come back down. Now, what's the next mountain you're going to climb?
Correct.
And that goes back to the conversation we're having at breakfast this morning. It's like the little wins, little steps that you do
Yeah.
daily that
I call them
culminate-
small victories.
Small victories.
I learned that in SEER school.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody here that may have known anything about SEER school, but I learned that in SEER school. Small victories. Create small victories.
Small
exactly.
victories.
And sometimes, I mean, with Kilimanjaro, you could see the peak for the most part, but we've done climbs where you don't. Like Whitney, for example. You don't.
False peak after false peak.
Yeah, false peak after false peak. And sometimes in life, you don't know what that end goal looks, or you don't see the finish line. All you know is that you have to take that next step. And another one, and then another one. And sometimes you get there in an hour, sometimes it takes you 6 days. But in life, you just don't know.
Yeah. I think it comes down to the idea that you have to be resolute with your faith
Yeah.
in yourself. And too many times in life, we give up on ourselves before we ever get to that finish line. Now, if we're doing it for somebody else, or we're trying to help somebody else, it seems to be easier, but we don't have that conviction or that dedication to ourselves. And that's what things like this help you push through and help you experience, is learning a new belief in your own capabilities, your own self, your limits, your desires. It's a lot to be gained. So,
For sure.
Yeah, and as much as we're all out here for ourselves, in the moment, we're all out here together.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you know, like Chris, you already touched on it, just pushing each other, picking each other up when we're down and out.
Yeah.
We're falling asleep while we're walking,
yeah.
right?
That was my source of entertainment.
Yeah.
You know, and to quote our one we're all connected with Bedros Keuilian, he talks about, you know, the water of the womb. The blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb, right? Well, it's any experience you go through like this.
Say it again.
The blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb.
Yes.
So when it comes down to going through an experience like this and you all suffer together, you have that common bond. So
Yeah.
yes, we're here for ourselves, but we all have a common thread or a common bond
Yeah.
that we can move forward with, and know that if we were to ever go through another experience together, we have a strong baseline together and understand
Yeah.
how to.
100%.
Right.
Man,
No doubt about it.
true.
The last thing I just want to touch on is the fact that I'm new to this world. I told you that I don't think I've ever actually slept in a sleeping bag prior to this trip.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
It's like,
having
what is
Chris as a resource to kind of help me get my gear situated, help me secure my sleeping bag to my hiking bag, these little things when you're absolutely and utterly exhausted, they really matter, and it helped me out immensely. So I really appreciate that, bro.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's what we're here for. It's what we love to do. And yeah. So the
All right.
last. Well,
Hey,
go.
let me
Yeah.
throw one more thing out there. So about 3 years ago, I started doing, and I did it accidentally, peer pressured into, Seems to be the way I roll. I like to do at least one really hard thing a year.
Okay.
Because the first time I did it, I climbed Grand Teton.
Oh.
And I did it with some studs, and I was the guy that lived at sea level, and I was like, how is altitude affecting me so badly?
Right.
Why am I going so slow? Why do I feel like pond water? The next thing I did was the Grand Canyon, and I did that twice, and then this is the third hard thing that I've done. And it, again, like we kind of talked about earlier, it expands my capacity to do harder things, but it resets my baseline to a little bit farther. And it's the training up for it. It's not really the event, it's the training up for it that expanded my capacity to do hard things. And so now I have gears that I never had before. And those gears affect me positively in business. They affect me positively in my personal life. They affect me positively in everything else that I do in life. And so I would recommend everyone go out and do something that's really freaking hard at least once a year. If you do it twice a year, even better.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Whether a literal mountain,
never been.
a literal mountain or metaphorical mountain,
Yeah.
find your mountain and conquer that shit.
I believe that the physicalness of it translates to every other
Yeah.
place
If you
in your
can
life.
surround yourself by studs while you're doing that hard thing, even better.
Even
Keeps
better.
your sword
Even
sharp.
better.
And I think it's Hormozy that said, confidence doesn't come from shouting affirmations to yourself in the mirror. It's having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. And experiences like this, like, give you that confidence and that undeniable proof that you can overcome shit in life. So
I didn't realize how big of a deal this was when I posted on Instagram about reaching the summit. I've received hundreds of messages and comments. I didn't realize it was significant as it actually is. But that part, I'd be lying if I told you that didn't feel good as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when you stratify this, you just climbed the largest volcano in the world.
Yep.
It's the largest mountain on the continent of Africa.
Yep.
It's one of the 7 summits. Mm-hmm. So I think it's
tallest freestanding
Yeah, it's big.
in the
it's
world.
almost
It's big.
almost just under 20,000 feet of elevation.
Yeah.
Which gets into what we call the dead zone for
Right.
altitude
Right.
alpine climbing.
So many people are like, "Oh, that's on my bucket list. That's my bucket list." I'm like, I didn't even think about it until
Right.
people were like, "Hey, why don't you come do this?"
We're going.
Okay.
We're going.
Yeah.
All right, I'll try it.
Yeah.
How hard can it be?
Ah.
It's not that bad.
Last question.
So last question, and we're just wanting to have some fun with this one. So,
Yeah.
if you were posed with the circumstances of choosing either or, what would you choose? If you had to climb Kilimanjaro again, or vote for Biden for president?
I'll climb that thing right now.
Oh my God.
Let's go. Even without the vote, I'll go right now. I tried to summon it twice, and I wasn't going to tell you about the first one. We just got there late.
As much as it sucked for me, I would rather die
good
than
of the
vote.
country.
There you have it, people. Thank you so much for joining us, and appreciate your time and energy. Thank you for joining us on this amazing trip. It's been a pleasure to have you all here and have this experience, and it's one we will not forget. So,
That's
Me
for
neither.
sure.
I'll never forget this.
yeah. Awesome, guys.
Unforgettable.
You guys
Love
will
you
probably have
guys.
to remind me.
Yeah, you are getting old, but
Yeah, those grays in your beard. Oof, man.
I got to go color it now.
Awesome.
Clean that up.